Understanding the liquidity boost. Banking stocks stole the show in many ways on Tuesday, with the Nifty Bank, the public sector bank, and private bank indices all up higher by more than 1%. The stocks gained after the Reserve Bank of India on Monday announced a three-pronged measure to address tight liquidity conditions in the banking system, just 10 days before a monetary policy decision on the repo rate. These steps, according to bankers, are expected to inject about 1.5 trillion rupees or 150,000 crore rupees into the system. Now, data shows the banking system's liquidity deficit, measured by the Reserve Bank of India's Liquidity Adjustment Facility, or LAF, stood at about 313,000 crores last week, with the deficit constantly exceeding 300,000 crores in the last 4 days, that's last week, except for Friday. Now, experts told Business Standard that the Reserve Bank has front-loaded the liquidity infusion ahead of a possible rate cut to help monetary transmission. Now, the measures have definitely lifted financials higher, as easing liquidity could support credit growth and earnings of banks and non-bank lenders, according to analysts who spoke to Business Standard. I reached out to Madhvi Arora, chief economist at MK Global Financial Services, and I began by asking her to take us through why there was a liquidity squeeze to start with and whether and how the present response would help.
Conventionally, you do see a fourth quarter of fiscal year having a liquidity crunch. You generally have a much higher currency leakage, generally have much higher tax outflows. Payouts will be much higher. Generally, the fourth quarter is more tax heavy. These two factors anyway play a major role in tightening of liquidity in the fourth quarter generally. Now, this year, the only difference that has worsened the liquidity condition is two factors. One is the government spending, which has been less robust, which basically meant that whatever taxes that they collected have not been spent. So the money is stuck with the government's balances with the Reserve Bank. And the second one is the FX intervention of the RBI, which either happens in spot or in the forward market. But irrespective, if there's an intervention, somewhere the liquidity impact would be felt, if not today, but tomorrow. So I think these two factors, which is tepid government spending and extremely high intervention by the RBI in the fourth quarter, which has also continued to some extent in this month also, but much less in terms of the way they were doing earlier. But of course, the kind of outflows that you're seeing has implied that policymakers had to sort of support the currency to some extent. But clearly, these two factors have been the biggest mover for liquidity deficit to have worsened. Just to recall, RBI had done CRR cut in early December, which had infused 1 lakh crore worth of liquidity in the month of December with two tranches. That also hasn't helped. So since, I think, late December, third week of December or so, we have been seeing consistent liquidity deficit, to the extent that at this point in time, we were close to around 3 lakh crore when the RBI announced the new measures, which essentially will imply permanent and some semi-permanent liquidity infusion of close to around 1.5 lakh crore.
And if you were to look a little ahead now, the Reserve Bank has 2 or 3 methods by which it introduces liquidity. So if you could just take us through those measures and how it will help. And the larger question being, how will this liquidity or easing of liquidity help the economy?
So the way for them to generate additional liquidities is basically 2 or 3 ways, which is what they had sort of done as well. So they could be, temporary liquidity infusion, which by, say, they are lending to the banks, right, which is the repo operations. So they could do variable repo operations of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maybe 3 months, depending on how they are viewing the problem of liquidity. It's a temporary measure. Eventually, banks will have to reverse that, right? It's a reversible operation. So basically, it's a temporary measure to infuse liquidity for a certain period of time. Then they can always do something which expands their balance sheet, which is the open market operation, right? When they start buying government securities, when they do that, their own base money creation increases, or the balance sheet of RBI increases, which infuses durable liquidity in the system, durable rupee liquidity in the system. The second way, and of course, other ways being, again, temporary measure like FX swaps. They can basically do dollar rupee swaps, which leads to dollar liquidity being sunk down, rupee liquidity being injected in. That also can be a temporary measure depending on the tenure of the swap. This time they had done a much shorter swap, but they can always do a 2-year, 3-year also for that matter. So that depends on the way they want to keep liquidity high, and they can always do something like a CRR cut, which again infuses permanent liquidity to the extent of, say, if they're reducing CRR by 0.5% of HDTL. So to the extent of the deposit base, 0.5% of liquidity will be available to the system, because banks would not be required to keep a high CRR or cash reserve ratio, as they say.
Right. And that obviously brings us to the next logical question, which is that, are you seeing that cut soon, and that's one. And the second is there any other signal that you're seeing that is being transmitted because of what we are, I mean, all this action with the Reserve Bank responding, though it is usual at this time of the year, but you said there were a couple of factors which are a little unusual, including government holding back. So what are the any other signals that we should be watching out for?
So I think, see, last quarter was a very interesting quarter for you to assess the RBI's reaction function. We saw massive emerging market currency pressures, which were not necessarily rupee targeted, but generally there was a pressure on emerging market currencies because dollar was strengthening, owing to factors which were again not led by emerging market, but owing to what is happening in the US economy, be it in rates point of view or be it the fact that the growth is exceptionally strong in US versus its developed peers. So US was enjoying that dollar bull run, which impacted other emerging currencies. And RBI, I think, went way too ahead to defend the rupee when there was no problem from the rupee's point of view. When there was no attack on the currency, you went all out to defend your currency, while you could have probably been much more judicious in your arsenal of or your spending pattern of FX. Because if I just give you a number reference, as per my estimate, the balance of payment, which is basically a difference between your trade deficit and your FPI flows and other venues of capital account, which could be FDI or ECB and stuff. So the net balance of payment of the economy for the third quarter of fiscal, which is December quarter, in my estimate was somewhere around deficit of 25-30 billion maximum, which means that the economy was having a fundamental problem of around 30 billion or 25 billion of dollar deficit. So to the extent of that, if the RBI had intervened, I would have understood, they're trying to actually save the economy from the volatility and the fundamental problems. What they ended up doing was making the rupee extremely flat on volatility. There was literally zero walls. It's like RBI is really looking to tap a particular target. More so, we became extremely overvalued against our peers. So to the extent that in the fourth quarter of CY24, which is December quarter, we were actually 2% up against CNY because we were the only currency in emerging market which was stable or appreciating, while everybody else was, going through their own troubles because of dollar strength. And RBI, to the extent of the BOP deficit of 25-30 billion, ended up spending more than 110 billion on intervention-led FX, which was around 20% of their own FX kitty. So you don't spend your arsenal at a time when there is no attack on you per se. It was generic attack or generic depreciation that was happening. So what happened owing to that is that RBI, we were made to believe that our RBI is really, or the policymakers in general, are looking to really keep rupee overvalued. And there's either they are obsessed with the fact that a strong rupee is a reflection of a strong growth in the economy or strong economy in general to the global investors or whatever the case may be. But clearly they went overboard with whatever they did, which also made us believe that RBI, having been obsessed with the rupee management, probably will not be able to cut rate in February, because any kind of rate cut technically in economic parlance would probably lead to a much lower interest differential or the risk differential or risk premium that emerging markets should offer to the FPIs. And thus there could be a further depreciation pressure on the rupee, and RBI would be wary of that, which made sense. And thus in December, they actually did TRR cut instead of any kind of repo cut, because that's the more unconventional way liquidity infusion that they can do would not necessarily lead to big headlines in terms of repo rate cut and then probably rupee. This is the least painful measure that one can think of. The fear was that if the dollar appreciation continues in the next quarter, February will also be a very difficult call to take, because one would not know how Trump administration would actually behave. Luckily for the global markets, the Trump rhetoric has sort of faded to some extent, and dollar rally has also faded, which has given some wiggle room or relief room to the emerging markets, to the extent that country like Indonesia, which have very high debt exposure of FPI, they have 15 to 18% of the debt which is owned by the foreign investors, have decided to cut rates, and not at the cost of their own currency, IDR, and at the cost of other things, but they focused on growth instead of focusing on a higher interest differential. So I think if in the current junction, if the currency volatility sort of remains manageable, they may also opt to cut rates. And if they had to do a rate cut, if they're planning to even think of a rate cut in February, it is very important that they create an environment domestically which is able to absorb the rate cut. When does it happen? When there is a decent liquidity in the system. If you have a deficit of around 3 lakh crore, 4 lakh crore in the system, rate cut would be a waste cut. So then that's what they have tried to address. So that was partly a signaling tool also that one, there's a rupee pressure which is manageable. We've let the rupee fall. We've decided maybe partly that, we lost focus on the rupee, but we focus on, say, monetary policy management and let the SPI be. So to be very honest, India is not a debt or interest differential economy. FI has come to India for growth. If you have a growth differential with the rest of the world, people will anyway come to India and the rupee will take care of itself. So I think to some extent they're trying to address those things. And my sense is that if at all there is no disruption in the global markets, February should see a rate cut. And we may also see further unconventional easing ways for the RBIs to probably bring in more countercyclical measures to the economy, which could be either in the form of more liquidity infusion at the margin here and there, or in the form of probably easing lending conditions in the economy by probably easing the conditional norms on the banks with regard to the provisioning to say NBFCs or infra lending and stuff like that they had discussed or they had implemented last year.
Right, Madhvi. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you guys. Bye.